Good morning. Let's take a quick look at live freight volumes, see what's happening for your 4th of July weekend coming up right after this. Yes. Good morning. How's it going? A little bit different, a little bit. It's Thursday. Normally I don't go live on Thursdays, but tomorrow's a holiday, and hopefully you're either driving or you're at home not caring about what's going on in the freight market. So I figured I'd go live. I have not been able to go live this week because we just barely got our power back yesterday. A storm went through on Sunday here through Springfield, another 80-mile-per-hour wind wave that happened, and suddenly we were thrown into a hurricane for a minute. And we lost power, and it took them all the way to Wednesday morning to get the power back. And then we lost our internet, but we got that back yesterday as well. So it's been kind of a tough week. So I didn't go live, and I have not been doing my normal routines. But other than that, it was funny. When the storm happened, I was on my way with this dog down here who's at my feet to do some training at the local pet store. And it was PetSmart or Petco, and we were in this big building, and you could feel a breeze. Like, I was expecting the roof to come off, and the power went out over there, of course. So they're reimbursing. They're adding another week to our class or whatever. But so yeah, we've been dealing with that. A lot of trees down. Luckily, we didn't have any trees fall on our house this time, so that was good. Other than that, I figured I'd go live real quick. We've got our coffee right here, which needs to be freshened up, but I forgot to get up and do that. We're going to go to the low boards and see what we see. And I hope that you have your loads booked for the weekend if you're trying to work this weekend. And just know that there's going to be some shenanigans this afternoon. You're going to start seeing a lot of loads, either not enough time or too much time. Of course, you got the extra day for transit time on your longer stuff. And I'm going to tell you right now, hardly any broker will pay you for what that extra day. So, and leverage has kind of changed hands a little bit. I was having trouble with some leverage yesterday, And but for the most part, the trucks have kept moving, other than an area that I'm struggling with because of my lack of knowledge. So we're learning, right? So um, just kind of keep that in mind when you're dispatching yourself, that there's a lot of shenanigans going on, and there are drivers and dispatchers and brokers that will be doing desperate things. Oh, look at this. Look at my wife. Check this out.
I was a little behind.
Thank you, sweetheart.
You're welcome.
Isn't she awesome? Cheers. We got our coffee freshened up. Thank you, hon. So, um, but yeah, it's been kind of a challenge, right? Um, as you know, as come on with it, which I haven't seen you in a while, so good to see you. I had 2 tonus and a layover last week. Yep. Same. I mean, we're struggling in a few areas. So, but anyways, we'll get to the comments here, and then hopefully my internet will hold out, and then we'll look at some low board stuff. The Bull of Woods, what's up? Good morning. Sean, what's up? You are first. If you ain't first, you're last, right? Welcome back home, Cheesecake. What a very interesting name change you've had. Medical card. What medical card? Did you lose your medical card, or are you just like, screw it, I'm never going back? Good morning. Says Chief Frailer. Low board looks a lot different this morning than it has the last 2 months. Yeah, we're going to check that out. And one of the things that we're going to check out is the upper Northwest, the Pacific Northwest. Man, trying to get a truck out of the West is a bit of a challenge, and I'm struggling with that because we use the term "make it make sense," and well, that's difficult to do sometimes. Bull of Woods, let's get it. Let's get it. Sterling, good morning. Good morning, kids. Any tips on how to do a drug test? Yep, don't do drugs. You're good to go. Did you finish your cereal? I forgot to eat. No cereal till they invent prime rib cereal. Very good. Very good. You know, I have a bad story. So last night I was at Walmart, and I was looking at I was looking for pork rinds, and in the other side of the aisle is like popcorn, snacks, and all this other crap. And this old lady comes up to me, and she looked familiar, but she, obviously thought I was a welcoming person, and said, "Hey, which one would you choose? I can't decide." And she's like, "There's like, do I get the butter flavored popcorn, or do I get the movie butter flavored popcorn?" I'm like, "Oh man!" In the nicest tone I could possibly say, it's like, "Well, I would just get, I picked up one of the plain ones. I would just get the plain, because you hear about cancer rates and the people that package this stuff, and this, it just depends on whatever chemical concoction that's not great for you, whatever you want." And she just kind of looked at me, and I said, "Yeah, I've lost a lot of weight avoiding these kind of foods." And she's like, "Oh." So I said, "I'm probably not the best person to help you." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And she picked up the movie popcorn and took off. I try not to be that guy, but hey, ask me a question in a grocery store, you may not like the answer, right? So, anyways, I'm a horrible person, right? I'm a horrible person. Let's see. SST, what's up? How do people function without internet? So, here's the thing. A while back, I got a tablet and I had my 2 phones, and that's how I did my job. The first day I couldn't do anything except book freight. And that was a bigger challenge. It was like trying to run a horse race with a donkey. It wasn't happening, right? But I managed through some miracle to get everybody booked. And because I like having my 2 screens, I like having my tools. I can have, you know, 15 tabs open to 15 different brokers, since they don't post on the low boards, that kind of thing. And I didn't, yeah, it was a bit of a challenge. not being able to do that at my will, so it's like, um but luckily the phones and the tablet have their own service, right? So I didn't have to rely on the internet. The the wife works at home, so she was able to adapt. I think she had to go to the actual office one day, and then she just was able to take a couple of days off from the other stuff. And so, we're very blessed, and we had a generator running, our refrigerator and our freezers, some fans for some air movement, and the only thing though is that I had this little fitting that I needed for my large propane tank that I did not have, and nobody in town had it. I had to order it from Amazon, and it's kind of a common part. So it really kind of surprised me that I couldn't find it locally. And you can't trust people's websites. Hell, we had my son called one supplier. Oh yeah, we've got plenty of those. Hey, do you sell to individuals, not just businesses? Oh yeah, we do that. He gets their completely opposite story. Oh yeah, we don't have that, and we couldn't sell it to you anyways if we did. Like, who the hell did I talk to on the phone then? So, anyways, the I kid you not, an hour after we got our power back, the part came in from Amazon. so so I had to use smaller grill size propane tanks to keep the generator going, which meant every 6-7 hours I had to change the bottle out. So that was fun. Waking up at 2 a.m. I didn't use my CPAP from basically Sunday night to Tuesday night, and I felt the difference. Now, my wife said that my snoring wasn't as bad, but I can definitely feel the difference. So a lot of people have asked me, do you think your sleep apnea has gone away since you've lost the weight? And I would say no, I don't think it has, because it was never about my weight. Some people gain OSA from their weight gain, but other people just have it because of their throat structure, and that's where I fall under. Now, I did have surgery on my throat years ago to kind of help it, but so it probably made it a lot better, but I found myself not sleeping very well. And man, last night, first night I had the CPAP, man, I slept like a rock. It was great. So come on with it, telling us in German, good morning. As a truck driver, I always wondered if trucker chow would be a viable product. Possibly. Good morning, Steve. Wishing everyone a great 4th of July. Thank you, CDN. I've got just enough internet to make me disappointed in society. That's all you need. Good morning, CDN. Says cheap freight hauler. I had 2 Tonus Leif over. Yeah, we already read that. 54 reefer Valdosta to Madison, Wisconsin. I will take a look at that. Sterling says, Wife Lord. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jerome. Fresh coffee is heavenly. Yep. Right now, I'm drinking the blonde roast, the light roast of Caribou. And it's the closest thing to my coffee that I used to have. It's been pretty good. If you go through the Joplin Petro, make sure you stop and get the Caribou coffee. Miss A says, morning, Sterling, and everyone else. Hope everyone has a great third quarter. Thank you. Steve, when leverage isn't working, bring out your death metal voice and things will go your way. Not really. Number one, I don't have the death vocal voice anymore. And number two, yeah, I don't don't call like trucking, man. That dude will growl at you. We don't really need that out there. My 23 just hit the 70,000 mile on warranty work. Back to internationals next year. 70,000? Oh wow. $70,000 on warranty work? Jeez. We need a dog camera. I've thought about trying to get the GoPro to mount to him, but I don't think that would work well. I'll try that. Sterling did a mower video, and I've heard that those can become popular. I think Ike Stevens was messing around with that for a minute. on one of his sub channels, and I thought, man, that I've got a small yard, right? Like the kind of yard that makes people go, "Why you got a riding mower?" Well, because I got it for free, and I'm going to use it, right? I got it from my mom when she moved, and I thought about doing exactly what Sterling put a video out on. The dog video, I've seen other people do that, put the GoPros on the harness of the dog, and I might try that. You know what? I might try. I've got the clip thing. I can put it on his harness, and we'll go for a walk. Maybe we'll do that. So, but wow, Sean, what brand of truck? International, right? Hello, fellow horrible person. Orville Renbrocker never told me wrong. LOL. 44,000 of it was the engine needed to rebuild at 147,000 miles. Sucked antifreeze through the motor. Long time at Pumpkin. Only reason I get loaners. Nice. That is one of the advantages of leasing on to make a carrier. Is hopefully they'll give you a loaner. Although I know a driver right now that's got a lease truck and his truck's been down. And they're like, "Yep, sucks to be you, dude." And yeah, it's a sad story. I have been sleeping well lately. Sucks. Yeah. Get a larger propane tank now during the low price season. Bottles are too much hassle. Yes, I already have a large propane tank. I just did not have the right fitting for it, which was the challenge. But luckily, I was prepared for that. But like I didn't know. I just assumed, because if you buy a 40-pound tank, they have the right fitting. Obviously, the grill size ones do, but the 100-pound tank, you got to add that. So, yeah, I look. We're learning as we go. We're going to make mistakes, right? My kids are threatening to run off with a band called Honestive from Missouri, so I'm down on Missouri people right now. I've never heard of that band. Snorelord has an easy listening jazz fusion acoustic voice now. That is true. I could send you my dog mount. Yeah, I mean, if you want, that's cool, but you don't have to. I mean, I hate to put you out. Don't ever admit to being a lease driver at Snyder. The Snyder ICs do pretty good over there. I will say that. It has a chest and upper mount, easy to use. Assume is that's what happened. That's what happened. I did not take a look at the tank. So, but anyways, we got it fixed. Like literally a minute, like almost to the minute after. I told my son when I ordered it, because originally Amazon said it wouldn't be here till Saturday. And I said, no, it'll come like an hour after the power is back. And sure enough, it did. So, but I got it put on, and we're good to go for next time. And this is, yeah, Springfield's been struggling here lately. City Utilities has been struggling here lately with the storms we've gotten here lately. Usually we get bypassed by a lot of these tornado warnings and all that, but this year it's been pretty crazy. And it's not really tornadoes, it's these wind waves of 80 miles an hour plus just all of a sudden coming up on you. And we've had that happen several times this season versus just a typical tornado. There was trees down all over Springfield. It was crazy. I had several friends that lost power, had trees crashed in their homes and all that. And we were the victims of that. In fact, the people doing some of the repairs are supposed to be here today. So that's why I don't expect this to be a long video. They're from Pierce City. I think they use marijuana too. Gateway drug, the bad things. That's true. I believe that. Schneider lease drivers do good on getting miles, but the net. That's not true. On the choice board, you can, the net is the struggle if you got a Schneider finance truck. And that's the case with any carrier lease truck. I was a Schneider owner operator that didn't have the high SFI payments, and my net was, well, about $1,000 more than the other drivers because I didn't have that big payment. So, but anyways, Welcome back. Good to see you. Hope the broker world is doing well for you. I believe that's what you're doing now, right? So, but anyways, let's look at some low board stuff. And I know you guys are excited. I've got 20 people in here. And we're gonna go. We're gonna go, right? Right. So let's look at load availability. Sterling says just north of you, I saw a lot of tornado damage in the back road to Arkansas. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they've been hit pretty hard this year too. Josh, what's up? Hope you're doing well. I mean, South Dirt. Yeah. Just south of. Yeah, I didn't catch that, but I'm glad you pointed out. I'm like, wait a minute, Arkansas is not north of me. Northwest Arkansas is probably what you had in the head, right? So let's see. Let's take a look at Van. And this is 48065. If you want to try out the 123 low board for free for 30 days, you can check it out. And a lot of these numbers are going to be interesting because, like, Arkansas is normally green. They are yellow. Arizona's been green for a minute, but they're also yellow. And outbound numbers are fairly low right now. 102, 156. Now, one of the things I want to point out is, check this out. So Washington's showing 59 outbound. Okay. If we go to DAT, let's refresh this. Now, I use DAT's second tier, and I use 123 low board's highest tier. And it's been kind of a good supplement. They're a good combination. Their rate check tool has been a lot more accurate. And plus, I've been using their toll calculator, which has been pretty accurate. Let's see. So let's go all the way down to Washington here. They're showing 84. So here's what's going on in the Pacific Northwest. Washington's at 84. Oregon is at 41. Okay. Now let's Montana, Wyoming. Let's throw them in here. In Utah. Wyoming's got 16. Montana's got 9. Okay. Now what's 123 showing in Montana? 20. They're showing more out. So, here's why I got 2 low boards. Because if I got to get a truck out of Montana, which means that I bump my head or something, or the driver put themselves in that situation, I got to check my resources. And right now, it looks like Montana 123 low board would be a better resource for outbound. Right. So let's go back to DAT here. Utah, 31 loads. Colorado, we're going to throw them in this mix. 90 loads. Now, these were in the 250s. So if you're looking at this map here and you're in California, your highest paying loads are either going to go to Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Washington, or Oregon, or Colorado. Okay. Now, so what you have to look at is they're paying really well out of California to go to these states. If you want to go to Illinois, Missouri, Iowa, Texas, they're paying a lot lower. Or New Mexico, they're paying really good to go into New Mexico. But what's New Mexico got? 23 here and 26 here. So again, 123's got more in the western states. So if I'm trying to pick a western state, if I want to stay west of I-35, Colorado is going to have your highest volume, outbound volume. Now, we all know what rates are like coming out of Colorado, right? But see, what happens is the computers have told the brokers, well, if you got a load going to Colorado, you can pay a little bit less than going to Washington because we need this load to go to Washington. So we're paying a lot better to do that. And so that's been the biggest challenge. And so now if you're going into California, you're going to take a hit, whether it because of this. This is why. The entire country going into California is the lowest paying load on the load board per mile and the overall rate as well. Because the computers know that it's a challenge to get out of all of these states, which is why they don't pay awesome to go back to Arizona, because what happens is Nevada and Arizona are affected by the softness of Utah, New Mexico, and Colorado. So if you look at this map, okay, navigating a market that only has one state with high volume makes it very difficult. So one of the things I tell people is that if, when I have people call me, "Hey Steve, should I become an owner operator?" Like, where one of the questions I ask that they think is weird is, where do you live? Because where you live is is going to affect how often you get home and how you strategize. The people that live in Florida, they have to have a different strategy than the people that live in California. The people that live in Wisconsin have a different strategy than the people that live in New York. And so a lot of that determines your success rate as well. And so that's something to consider. It's one of the things to consider. And so we can make any market work, but if you live in Montana, you probably have a way different outlook on everything than, say, someone that lives in Texas. So these trucking gurus that say, "Oh, you need to do this and this and this," they're not taking into account a lot of the personal issues, like, where do you park your truck? How often do you need to be home? What's your lifestyle like at home? Are you the sole breadwinner? Is this just, mess around money? Hold on a minute. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. All right, so let's go to the comments here. All right. Wow, we got a lot of comments here. Let's see. David Edwards, shenanigans now completely in effect. Call me today, David. We'll talk some more. Let's see. Everybody saying hi. We want the number one crown. Number one for what? Oh, I disagree. Sterling work as being a complete glass cleaning technologist. Idaho. Idaho is showing extremely low. 9 outbound loads on DAT and 31 for 123 low board. Window picking is for dogs, David. Super chats boost you. Yeah, I haven't had a super chat in a long time. I think everybody's broke. Red Lady, good morning. Sterling Trucking delivers. All the red states taste like strawberry. I don't think so. Have you tasted Arizona? Tastes like sand and disappointment. Has it even been worth it to go to California lately? All I've seen is sub $2 outbound from Cali. That's what I'm noticing too. So it hasn't, because all these other states are so soft coming out that everybody's going into California either empty or with a load. So some of these states with 20 to 50 loads in reality is 5 to 10 loads with 5 to 10 brokers posting the same load numbers can be deceiving. Yes, that is true. The people in Wyoming have a different plan than someone in Chicago. Yes, that's true. Back to work. We should get music like elevator music. Sterling made a. I'm on a call video, but it's too much to add to the thing. I guess you just have to play that game to get more. If you're taking less than $1 to Cali to pay the better play, right? Let's see. Chief Freya says, I guess I'll stay in the southeast, keep hauling this $4 to $5 mile freight. Raphael says definitely. Gary says, good morning from Carlisle. I pulled in here at midnight and was able to get a free spot. I was shocked. Yeah, some night runner just pulled out. Steven says, great plan. The area just sucks ass. People don't want to load you or unload you early. In rare occasions, you find them. That's true. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, that's the challenge, right? So let's take a look at California outbound. And let's sort this by highest rate per mile. And I guarantee you it's all going to be the Pacific. Oh, here's one to Reno, $650. 900 to go to Arizona, 900 to go to Nevada, so 367 a mile. Here we go. Commerce, California to Phoenix, Oregon, $2,500. Well, if we click on this, let's look at our outbound. This is for today, by the way. Look at all the fat zeros. There's one load, Oregon to anywhere at this point. Or 7, sorry. I got my glass on and I'm still not seeing it because I'm dumb. Oregon, 355. Utah, 336 a mile. Washington, 325 a mile. Not one of these is going east. Loveland, Colorado, that's about as east as you're going to get. That's a good rate. So you have to look at the outbound states. Okay, so where am I? If I need to stay in the west, can I even find a load? It's not even about the rate at this point. Can you even find a load that takes me back? And so looking at this map here, well, Arizona and Nevada are yellow. And so I would create a triangle here for a good daily rate. You're not getting the thousands of dollars, after 2 or 3 days, because you might get to Washington for, $1,000 a day, but then coming out, are you still going to be above that $1,000 a day? No, you're probably going to be closer to $500 or $600 a day. So where if I can consistently get 800 a day, bouncing these 3 states, that would work. If if the times work. And then going into LA, there are certain areas that you may not want to go into and other areas that you can because of time management. Time management makes California hard to maneuver because of the speed limit and because of the traffic. I always found it funny that people would rather run LA than Chicago, and I'm like the opposite. Chicago is not bad compared to what you might run into in LA traffic, right? Scott, what's up? Good morning. Hope you're slaying dragons. Cool. With Colate and a toothbrush. I feel like going to Washington with IFTA and the fuel cost is not worth it. That's another aspect as well, is running the Western, 11. Had a broker agent call me about a lane I've ran for them before. Turns out we live in the same town. We're going to meet up for lunch next week. Good deal. That's good. That's how you do it. So I mean, it takes some, and here's the other thing: can you afford this learning curve? Right? When people first enter the spot market, I'm saying I hope you got some money saved up because you're going to make mistakes, you're going to struggle, and you got to be able to afford that learning curve. Because it took me about 6 months to kind of get the jive of what Landstar was doing when I was running off of their board. Now, Snyder, it was a little bit quicker because I had Jeff helping me because he knew the Snyder low board pretty good. He was a master at it. And that's where I learned the kind of the short approach. It's harder to do the short haul approach when you're calling brokers every single time. And, there's a lot of things you're trying to coordinate, especially if you're self-dispatch. And so a lot of people pick long loads because that gives them a couple of days to kind of look for the next load. And that's where my services come in for our drivers for like trucking is if they're driving, I could be looking. I can be emailing. I can be strategizing. I can be looking, okay, well, it doesn't pay to go to this area. It does with this one. Now, if we go back to DAT, let's go look at Georgia. Oh, look at this. We are below 1,000 in Georgia. 854 loads. So volumes today, okay, I'm going to warn you right now, volumes today are going to suck. They're not going to be great. All right, looks like I got a few minutes and I'll have to wrap this up. All right, so Kansas has got 71 loads outbound, 228 in Indiana, Illinois 495. California's got 1329 coming out. Alabama's got 195. Arkansas, so these are all super, super low. And so it was my goal today to make sure I didn't have to dispatch anybody trying to get a load out today. Although I do have one truck I'm going to work on today. New Jersey's got a higher amount, 339. Ohio's got 346. So none of these are hitting 1,000 except Texas. And Texas is barely hitting 1,000. So your outbound volume. So the holiday has already started for many of these brokers, right? And the computers will tell them that you have zero leverage today. You want to load today? Unless they're under some contract and it has to be booked today, more likely that was booked earlier this week. You might be able to find, if you're combing the load boards, you might be able to find that one truck that dropped a load at the last minute and then because it broke down or something, and then you can grab that. Raphael says, thanks for all you do. Always good content. Thank you. Thanks for the people in the chat. You're always helpful. Today's leverage was yesterday. Have to hope for a fall off if look for load today. And that's one of the not strategies. That's one of the advantages I have is I can get everything. And every now and then you'll see something that pops up like, really? I got my rate? Really? This actually picked up? Really? The delivery's actually legit? It's like, wow, and knowing your customers, like if there's a load that picks up today that delivers tomorrow, be skeptical about it because it may not be that way. You might get there with a closed gate and a big sign that says, sucks to be you. See you Monday morning. And so there's certain brokers I won't even book with because I don't trust them to give me that good information. I'm not going to name them here because I don't want to bash a company here, but today is going to be a challenge if you're looking for a load. And outbound volumes suck all the way around. Now, with the numbers that I showed in the Northwest, that's been those numbers for a while. These other numbers are down because of the holiday coming up. Raphael says, unless going to a good market and you have multiple states that you can go to, or should I say willing? And that's a big part of it. Are you willing to go to this state or that state? Are you willing to go into downtown Chicago if it calls for it, if it's your only option? And that's it's the limitations of the driver that are, because look, when you're looking at a low board like this, there's a lot of limitations with all these different variances. And then the driver adds the more. Well, it can't be above this weight. It can't be this. It can't be that. I can't do this. I won't do that. And it's like, okay, so you just took my 10 options and put them down to 1. And guess what? That one broker's not coming up on his rate. And so the more flexible you can be, I get it. If you're running from Ohio to Illinois and back, yeah, man, be as picky as you want. And you could probably make some money. But if you don't like the haul heavy and you're down in Alabama, you might be sitting a minute. Because what's in Alabama? Predominantly paper, cotton. Those are all heavy loads, right? We all would love to have that, 15 or 5,000 pound load with only 3 pallets in there, and you put a strap on it and you're good to go, and we and do thousands of miles that way, and make it 2 turns off the interstate with no major cities to drive through. We all would love that. You have to create that. You have to find that. You have to search for that. And can you afford that learning curve? Because some areas you ain't going to find that. Some areas are going to be out in the woods. Some areas are going to be on 2-lane roads that, well, really weren't designed for your truck. But you know what? That load paid pretty good, so let's be flexible. It's still a truck legal route, so let's make it work. One of the roads that I don't like driving down in a semi or even in a car is US 65, basically from Branson all the way down to Little Rock. That's a tough stretch of road, especially heavy. And that was the first load I did as a solo driver, was down that road. 45,000 pounds of baled cardboard. Man, talk about baptism by fire. Now, as an owner operator, did I choose that? Yeah, a couple of times. You know why? Because it made money. It made sense. It was my only option. It was better than sitting at home for 3 days. Chief Freight says I've had to deadhead to Dallas from Shreveport before because my trailer was too old to hold paper. Yeah. Buck Brown, what's up? Which weighs more, pound of paper or pound of cotton? They're both the same because it's both a pound. David. But anyways, so just know that volumes are down, and you're going to struggle today. And there's going to be a lot of shenanigans. There's going to be a lot of team loads all of a sudden. There's going to be a lot of um, uncertainty on hours. Like maybe they're going to go home early today um, because it's the holiday weekend. You know, the 4th of July is one of the most traveled weekends as well. So just be aware. I don't think there's any riots going on right now, so we're good there. But just know that things get kind of crazy, and 4th of July this year is on a Friday, so it's gonna that's the blessing because now your 2-day weekend becomes a 3-day weekend. So if you're trying to get a load through the house, then you'll get an extra day off. But also, cargo theft's going to be up this week, so just this weekend. So just be aware of that. So. CDN says, great show. Work to do. Have a great day. Thank you, CDN. I'm hoping we can have a conversation today if you're not too busy. So, anyways, let's 48065 if you want to check out the load board. There's ways to support the channel. I know that things are tight, so I'm not going to sit here and beg you for super chats or anything like that. So, but if you want to do that, that's great. Thank you to the members. I appreciate you. And we'll get some more content out here. I have some plans in the works, so but I won't tell you what those plans are because if I don't do them, you'll be like, "Well, I thought you were going to do this." Strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Aggression turns to screws. You can do this. You're good to go. Peace.